once asked a rich man, which is more valuable, diamonds or water? Of course, the rich man promptly responded, of course, diamonds are more important. They have more economic value. Several years later, that rich man found himself poor, and he, of course, could not find any water. It was at that point the rich man found himself in need of water more than diamonds, and he said water is finally more valuable. That's exactly what this resolution is actually giving us right now. Of course, a person that is not in conflict with their national security and that does not have their life in harm's way is going to show that privacy is more important to them. Of course, they're going to say, yes, I love my privacy. Yes, I don't want to be unreasonably searched or seized. But when it comes to the simple fact that their lives are in danger, they will be willing to give up privacy every single time it happens. So we can clearly see that in the end, privacy is less important than national security, and life is what we need to be protecting highest. Now I want to go down all of the responses that were made to my simple case in the last few rounds, in the last few moments, and then I have a couple voting issues that I want to look at. So looking at the response that he made to my value, he was basically talking about how the quality of life protects life plus more, and he was talking about how actually the quality of life makes life worth living, so of course it's more important. Well, Judge, I'd like to respond by saying that you have to have a life to enjoy it, and really draw it back to my analogy of the diamonds and the water. Of course, diamonds are more important when the economy is going well, when everything is not in conflict, and when you have a good way to say that, yes, I can invest these diamonds, and yes, I can use the money. But when it comes down to the simple fact where your life is at stake, you will choose your life every single time. That's my counter response to this. Life is first. Moving down to the next point, he responded to my reason to prefer, talking about how actually life worth living is more important, and I actually just responded to this. So I'm going to move down to my next point. He group responded to my two contentions by saying that he has one voting issue here. National security harms. He talked about how it actually takes away the people's rights and it actually harms people in the end. And one of the bits of rhetoric he was talking about was the simple fact that governments can abuse the rules. But I'd like to authorize a response here and actually look at the reality of the situation here. When we're looking at a resolution, we're looking at something that's hypothetical, especially in Lincoln-Douglas value debate. It's something that's not actually happening in the real world, but something that should be applied to the real world. When we're looking at this resolution, we need to look at national security exactly as how it's defined, not as how an extreme government might define it 10 years or 20 years or even 100 years down the line. What we're looking at is the definition we have before us. And the definition we have before us is clearly protecting both the rights of people, the quality of life of people, and the actual lives of people. So clearly, national security is the most important value in the round today. It's the thing that we should be valuing the very highest. Now I have a couple voting issues that I want to bring up on my own here. Voting issue number one, you can tag on your flow as dropped applications. Again, dropped applications. A couple of the things that I looked at in my my first negative speech was the irreversity principle and the attitudes of humans towards their privacy rights. Now, he provided no counter-analysis or any response to this whatsoever, other than simply saying that national security harms people. Judge, I'd like to say that that is not an adequate response to my points, because of the simple fact that that doesn't take into account the irreversity principle or how people actually treat their privacies in the real world. So what we see here is that these two applications, I hope, are enough to win you over to the negative side in the end of the round today. The second point that I'd like to bring up under my voting issues is voting issue number two. You can tag on your flow as rights hierarchy. Again, rights hierarchy. This is basically just talking about the value and really what we're looking at in the end of the round today. We're looking at the simple fact that life is more important and it's higher on the rights hierarchy than privacy is in every single circumstance, especially when we're talking about when in conflict. So what we see here, judges, is that when we can uphold the rights hierarchy and consider it when making our decisions, we should, and we can do that here. And the only way you can adequately respond to the rights hierarchy is by taking a negative ballot. Voting issue number three, you can tag on your flow as privacy is secondary. Again, privacy is secondary. This is one of my contentions at the beginning, but I believe it's so important that I want to talk about it again. Privacy is always going to be chosen below what the people want first. And the people clearly want first their email accounts. They clearly want first their Facebook accounts. They clearly want first that new update to Windows 10 that has ever more intrusive privacy violations. So what we see here is that when in conflict, the The right to privacy is held lower than almost anything, especially when we're considering simple social media aspects or simple electronic ones. Moving down to voting issue number 4. National security protects life. Again, national security protects life. In the end of the round, how we're examining this resolution and how we're examining specifically national security is simply looking at how national security is defined. The definition should be enough to win over you to the negative side. Saying that it protects life, saying that it protects life and rights, and saying that it protects the interests of the nation and the citizens, we can clearly see that in the end of the round, this is what should be valued the highest. This is what should be more important than privacy. It's because of the simple fact that privacy is always going to rank lower than your life that you should vote for the negative team. Thank you.